something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion, but the reality is she's just not stable.
She was supposed to be Disney's next Golden Girl. An overnight success, a critically acclaimed breakout, and the fresh face meant to lead the next generation of fairy tale icons. Rachel Zegler went from YouTube covers in her bedroom to the lead in a Steven Spielberg film. From high school stages to Oscar red carpets. From unknown to unavoidable. But now she's being mocked by The Simpsons. Her box office debut has collapsed. Her online presence is in shambles. And her career, once on a rocket ship, is suddenly plummeting into free fall. And the biggest question in Hollywood isn't, what happened? It's, can she survive it? Because this isn't just a public image crisis. It's a masterclass in how fast the entertainment industry can turn. And how fame, once it's fractured, is almost impossible to fix. The trouble started long before The Simpsons took aim. The episode in question features a movie within a movie called Snow Woke, the Reimagining. It doesn't just parody Zegler, it obliterates her. There's no clever nods, no winking satire. It's aggressive, on the nose, and clearly designed to say exactly what much of the internet's been screaming for months. It paints Rachel Z as tone-deaf, arrogant, obsessed with activism, and tragically unaware of how far off course she steered. The fictional version of her in the show rewrites fairy tales to erase traditional characters, preaches feminism to confused villagers, and has a full-on meltdown live on Krusty the Clown's talk show. It's not subtle. And it's not just funny. It's a warning shot. In the world of celebrity, being parodied by The Simpsons used to be a badge of honor. These days, it's something else entirely. It means you've crossed from star to symbol. A symbol of something the culture is rejecting. And for Rachel, it's the clearest sign yet that the tide has turned, and may not be turning back. But let's rewind. Because to understand how we got here, you have to go back to where it all began. A dream role, a fairy tale reboot, and a few interviews that flipped everything upside down. Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White in Disney's live-action remake. For many, this was the perfect casting. She had the singing chops, the fresh face, the rising stardom. She was coming off West Side Story, where critics called her performance magnetic. The sky was the limit. But from the moment she started promoting Snow White, something felt off. Instead of expressing excitement or honoring the legacy of the original 1937 classic, Rachel went in a different direction. She criticized the source material. She called the original prince a stalker. She said the story was weird. She claimed the new version would be about empowerment, leadership, and saving yourself, not love. And that, right there, is where the fracture began. Because while her intent may have been to modernize, the delivery came off as dismissive. To fans of the original, it felt like betrayal. She wasn't celebrating the role. She was mocking it. And people noticed. At first, it was just online chatter. Then it snowballed. Clips of her interviews went viral over and over again. Her quotes were repurposed, memed, and mocked. The phrase, "Girl Boss Snow White," started trending, but not in a flattering way. What some hailed as feminist reinvention, others saw as corporate activism wrapped in entitlement. A young actress with limited experience suddenly lecturing audiences on why a beloved childhood classic needed fixing. It rubbed people the wrong way. And it didn't stop with her quotes. The film itself added fuel to the fire. Gone were the iconic dwarfs, replaced with CGI magical creatures that many found awkward or offensive in their own way. Gone was the classic tone. Gone was the romantic arc. The new Snow White barely resembled the old, in plot, in casting, in spirit. Even co-star Gal Gadot, playing the evil queen, seemed detached during press events. Their appearances together were cold, mechanical. At the Oscars, fans noted the lack of chemistry. Zero eye contact, no shared jokes, not even a moment of real interaction. Rumors swirled that Gal had distanced herself, uncomfortable with the storm forming around her co-star. And through all of this, Disney stayed silent. They didn't step in to clarify. They didn't redirect the narrative. They let Rachel take the hits. And when the movie finally dropped, it flopped. Despite massive branding, nostalgia, and one of the most recognizable titles in animation history, Snow White failed to connect. Box office numbers were weak. Audience scores were lower than anyone expected. On IMDb, the film tumbled to a score so low, it rivaled some of the worst-performing Disney titles ever. But it wasn't just a box office bomb. It became a cultural one. The internet didn't just ignore the film. They actively celebrated its failure. People filmed themselves walking into empty theaters. One viral video showed a lone audience member watching the movie in silence. Another clip parodied Rachel watching herself, alone, with fake applause echoing in an empty auditorium. The message was clear. This wasn't just a failed film. It was a rejected idea. And then came the AI nightmare. A fake OnlyFans profile using Rachel's likeness appeared online. It wasn't real, but it didn't matter. It went viral almost instantly. People believed it, shared it, laughed about it. And for a brief, surreal moment, the actress who had once been Disney's next big thing became the center of a different kind of internet storm. Her team responded. The content was taken down. But the damage was done. Because in the digital age, perception is reality. And if enough people see you as a joke, the truth doesn't always matter. Behind the scenes, the industry took notice. Casting calls that once included Rachel's name quietly moved on. Rumored projects suddenly disappeared from her IMDb. Voice acting roles were recast. PR campaigns were restructured. And while no studio has gone on record, insiders say it plainly, she's seen as a risk now. And it's not just about interviews or ideology. It's about trust. Can audiences trust her to carry a film? Can studios trust her to avoid controversy? Can sponsors trust her image won't collapse overnight? In Rachel's case, that trust has been shaken. Adding even more weight to the collapse was her public breakup with Josh Andres Rivera, her co-star and long-term boyfriend. The two had been seen as a power couple in the making. But in the middle of the Snow White backlash, the relationship reportedly fractured. The pressure, the headlines, the hate, it was too much. And then, the final twist, The Simpsons. When The Simpsons parodies you, you're no longer just a celebrity. You're a symbol, a satire, a stand-in for what society's mocking this month. Their Rachel Z character was a brutal caricature, self-important, clueless, lecturing villagers while her movie flopped spectacularly. Her downfall, punctuated by a live meltdown, was as on-the-nose as satire gets. But what does this all mean? It means the fairy tale is over. Rachel Zegler's rise and fall is no longer just her story. It's become a cautionary tale. About modern fame. About PR missteps. About the delicate balance between progress and preservation. About how fast the internet can love you, and how much faster it can turn. Hollywood loves a comeback. Maybe Rachel will get one. Maybe a future role will redeem her, reshape her, reintroduce her. But the path forward is steep. Because in this business, it's not just about talent. It's about timing. It's about tone. And it's about knowing when to speak, and when not to. Once upon a time, Rachel Zegler was Disney's chosen one. Now she's a meme. A warning. A headline. And the world is watching to see if she can rewrite her story, or if this chapter is where it ends.